Hi, I'm Gabby. I'm a senior. I'm a poli-sci major. I use the she, her pronouns. I'm actually an RA in Unit 2 right now. So if any of y'all are too, so excited to have you here next year. I won't be fine. You guys will. And I'm going to pass it on to Cindy. She'll go next.
Hi everyone, I'm Cindy. I am a junior at Cal. I study psych and media studies. I lived in Unit 1 my freshman year, and I'm so excited to tell you guys about how much fun that was. And I'll popcorn to John.
Sweet. Hi guys, I'm John. I use he, him, his. I'm a fourth year senior. Yay! Last year, COVID. Woo. But yeah, I've been an RE for 3 years in Unit 2, and then I also lived in Unit 1 my freshman year. And then I'll popcorn into Jordan.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Jordan. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm also a senior, so I'm graduating like next month, which is wild. I'm double majoring in data science and biology. I'm currently an RA in Clark Kerr, and then last year I was very heavily involved in our residential government RHA, which is a residence hall assembly, and I'll definitely be talking about that because it was really fun. I did it for like my first 3 years, and now I'm an RA, so it was great. Anyway.
I love that he says like relatively involved. Man says the president of RHA. He was president of like thousands of students living in the dorm. So we've got great people on this panel, and I'm so excited to answer all of your questions. So I also mentioned that I lived in Stern my freshman year, and then I lived in Unit 1 and then Unit 2. So I've kind of been all over the block. If you have questions about Stern, I got you. Okay, so we're gonna start with what was your experience like living in dorms? And whoever wants to go first and take that question.
Oh, I can go first. So I was in Unit 1, so the mini suites, if you guys know what those are. It's kind of like two rooms that share a bathroom rather than you sharing bathroom with like the rest of the hall. It was pretty cool, less social because you guys have your own bubble. But I totally recommend it because it's kind of nice to have your own bathroom that you don't have to constantly go in and out of your room to leave to go. And you can also leave like your shower stuff is also nice. But I think the thing is with the mini suites, you kind of do make all your friends during GBO because that's kind of like the only time you really get to actively meet everyone, unless you're like passing by or seeing each other in like the lounges, study lounges, or yeah, any of the study lounges. And so it's a good experience. It just really depends on how you make of it. But yeah, overall positive experience. I was best friends with my RA. GBO is your guys' orientation. And then pets, you guys are allowed to have a goldfish, right? Or a fish. I don't remember the gallons. It's like 50-gallon something. I don't know. You guys might know better about goldfish, but I'm pretty sure you could only have a fish. And then I'll allow somebody else to answer the question.
I can go next. So I lived in the dorms actually all 4 years of my college career. So I started in Clark Kerr campus, and then I moved to the apartments, which I lived in New Sequoia my sophomore year, and then Maximino Martinez Commons, which are both on-campus apartments. And then this year I live back in Clark Kerr. And I clearly very much love Clark Kerr campus. I just like it's not very far. It's like a 15-minute walk from campus, and it's like in this beautiful area with all the trees, and it's got this nice classic mission style architecture that reminds me of like my hometown because I'm from Southern California. And it's just been like a really awesome and great experience. I've met all my like best friends for life in the dorms. I think that like living in the dorms is such a unique experience because it's not, you'll never again have in your life the opportunity to walk like down the hall and see your friends. Like that's just a very uniquely college experience and a very uniquely, for a lot of you, going to be your freshman year experience. So it's very important that everyone, I think, gets one chance to live in some sort of communal style living, and I think the dorms are an outstanding place to have that sense of community that you can get like truly nowhere else.
Yeah, I totally just want to echo Jordan's point that living in the dorms is such an experience. To Preeti's question, I had so many plants, and those I guess I considered my pets. They were like lined on my windowsill, and yeah, so definitely plants are allowed. And to Evelyn, I think someone confirm for me, but I do believe that GBO is going to be in August, the week before school starts for you guys. For me, for my own experience, I lived in Unit 1, like I mentioned before, and I lived in the hall style. So my entire floor were doubles and triples, and we all shared a communal gender neutral bathroom. And that was the best experience for me because I would say that this is like the most social kind of setup because, you know, we're always going to and from like class, passing by each other's rooms. We're also going into the bathroom and bumping into each other there. And we also had a shared study lounge right across the bathroom where we can go. So I met a lot of people through playing board games there, through just hanging out, through study sessions there as well. And sometimes our RA resident assistant would also just sit and chill with us, bring us cookies. So that was really fun too. Today, my closest friends are actually comprised of a group formed out of 3 triples that lived in Unit 1. And so, yeah, definitely recommend the hall style if you're into like the more social life freshman year.
Awesome. So we're getting a lot of great questions. And I kind of like the style of like me asking a question, then you guys kind of like, if you see something that pops up that you really want to answer in the chat, feel free to do so. But I'm going to move on to another question that I think is really good. What resources are available within the dorms, both like fun academic stuff, but also like more serious things like leadership opportunities and academic resources? Can y'all talk about that?
I can go first, and I will talk about 2 less academic, more fun resources that were available at Unit 1 specifically. Unit 1 has an Amazon locker, which was a lifesaver when it came to buying textbooks the day before class started or needing to, you know, replace something like an essential need really quickly. With your student email, you get 6 months of Amazon Prime for free. And so I could order something in the morning and then on my way back from class that day, just pick it up from Unit 1, like right on my way home. And so that was super convenient. I love that. And then the other thing that I utilized really a lot was the music rooms. And in each of the units, or Unit 1 and 2 at least, there are music rooms with pianos in like the ground floor next to like the study rooms. And as someone who loves music and finds that as like a huge stress reliever for myself, and also when I was auditioning for some a cappella groups on campus, I would utilize that room all the time. Also hang out with friends, jam out. Yeah, so those are kind of 2 more fun resources that the units provide.
Yeah, I can go next on some more resources. I think one resource that often gets overlooked is our theme program housing. It is literally like one of the coolest things that I think UC Berkeley has to offer. We have a variety of floors that like our students can live on that are affinity based, like for certain identity groups or something that you'd like to like study or be involved in. So we have the global environment theme program at Kerr, and they're really focused on sustainability, and a lot of them are in the College of Natural Resources. And then you have the Asian American Pacific theme program in Unit 2. That's a really, really great group. They have this Lights Festival every fall that I really, really miss. It's such a cool program. We have the African American theme program. We have Unity, our LGBTQIA affinity floor. We have a really new Native American theme program. So many cool resources for you all. So you'll live on the floor with people who also want to be in the theme program and take a class. It's an outstanding way to form community. And I just think it's a really overlooked resource in the halls.
Awesome. John, if you wanted to add anything, I don't want to cut you off, or should we just good?
Oh, I mean, the biggest resource that you guys could use is your RA. So I'm just saying, I think because I've been on both sides of the spectrum where I was like an RA, or I was a student, obviously, but I was also an RA. But like the thing is, like your time inside the halls really depends on how well you vibe with your RA as well, and how well you do vibe with the overall floor. Because I mean, your RA is going to be patrolling you, so if you're in a good relationship, it's always nice to have. Oh, an RA is a resident assistant, so practically you have somebody who overlooks the floors, make sure you guys aren't, you know, drinking, partying, having marijuana. You know, just be blatant about it. But yeah.
Your RAs are also really great resources. I literally had one of my past RAs come to, she works at Genentech now. She's a product manager there. We were chill. So she came and she was an alumni at our, like one of our career panels. So the RAs are great resources also just like for connections in the future. But I do want to ask a question. Can y'all talk about like the location of the dorms and if you recommend certain of them for certain majors or just like the vibes of each one that you, because each one has like a different culture. So can you guys address that a little bit?
I would say Foothill is the closest dorm to the College of Engineering, so you do see a lot of people in the College of Engineering going there because when you're in person, it's a nice short walk. It's a downhill walk when you have an early class. So I think that's a really common one that we see a lot of College of Engineering students there. Clark Kerr campus, a lot of people who want to be involved in Greek life end up gravitating towards Clark Kerr campus because it's the closest to our like row of fraternities and sororities. Unit 1 and Unit 2 are just like pretty classic. Unit 3 has our Unity program, and it's getting bigger and bigger every year. So we see a lot of folks who are LGBTQIA plus affiliated gravitating towards there. And Blackwell is really new and it's really nice. Just trying to give like the general vibe. But honestly, if you can live wherever you want, there's no like, if you're in this major, you must be doing this. Like my roommate freshman year was in EECS and I was focused on biology. So it's like, it doesn't really matter. But there's like a few, I would say. I don't know if anybody else wants to expand on that.
I think other than that, Stern is the all girls housing option. And so if that is your cup of joe, that's also kind of like a more niche housing option. But other than that, I would say the units, Blackwell, are very well mixed. And then the last thing is that I've heard that more athletes are housed in Clark Kerr, and that's because that's a little bit closer to where they practice. And so simply you'll just find more athletes there as well.
Awesome. Can y'all talk about how you went about choosing a roommate your freshman year, that process, any advice that you would suggest to people who are still looking for roommates, advice about like how to live with someone who you've never lived with before, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So, so I came from a school that only sent 2 people to Berkeley. So obviously I didn't really have a large gene pool or whatever to pull from. So I went in blind, right? And I don't think it's nice to have a person there that but I think don't be hesitant just because you don't have a roommate. It's good. They'll match you with whatever you guys do accordingly in your guys' housing app. They'll like say like, oh, what time or noise or guess whatever, right? But I think the biggest thing whenever doing it, just have an open mind. I obviously had it was a learning experience trying to live with my roommate, but at the end of the day, I still talk to them, and there's probably going to be one of your best friends, and it's better to go beyond your comfort zone than be restricted to the people who are like your, I forgot what's called, like bungee buddies or like Velcro buddies, where you're like always attached at the hip. So it's good to just come into Berkeley because obviously sometimes when you come in without deposition of what a perfect roommate is, and you're like, okay, this roommate seems perfect, but then you guys end up living with each other, and you're just like, oh crap, you guys are totally like polar opposites. So just really be open whenever doing it.
I found my roommates, I lived in a triple, one of them through the Facebook page, the class of 22 page. I just posted, a little blurb about myself and then had someone reach out to me. And so found one roommate through that. And then one roommate was random. And I remember both me and the friend that I found on Facebook, we were kind of nervous about going in random. We were like, what if like she's totally different? Like her and I bonded because we like to sleep late, and we're like, oh, like what if she doesn't like that? I'm a little bit messy. Like what if she? No. When you fill out that housing application, you kind of put in your different preferences and your living habits, and then that's how they match you up with people if you're going in random. And so the third person that we ended up rooming with, we got along super well. She was older than us by a year, and that is not super common, but that's just how it worked for us. And she became like an older sister. It was awesome. And so even if you're going in random, I would say don't worry at all. Cal does a good job matching you guys up.
Awesome. And can we also, I know that Jordan's going to talk about safety, but before we do that, can we also address, since people have not been able to visit the campus, can you talk about the dining halls that are close to the housing and the availability of that, like food and different like food locations on campus, also the housing ones too, like the dining halls? Can you talk about that organization of them?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I'll talk about on-campus cafes first because that was like my main platform last year was to try and reform and make those better. So we have the Golden Bear Cafe, which is the one right in Sproul, and that menu I'm gonna take credit for that. It got a lot better. It's such a good food now, and I honestly like go there all the time. And me and all my RA friends with our free meal plans always go down there to get that fried chicken sandwich. It's so good. It's ridiculous. And then there's Brown's Cafe, which has like the best paninis ever, and that's by the College of Natural Resources. And those are really the two main places that people spend their meal points. There's also the Terrace Cafe, which is in the College of Engineering, and that's more of like a to go shop. So those are the on campus ones. And I'll let somebody else take what the dining halls are like.
The dining halls are pretty much all to go because of COVID. And so the way that it practically works is that you have to get tested for COVID and you have to show them like a screen saying, "Oh, I'm cleared. I don't have COVID," or "I'm up to date with my COVID test." And so they let you in, you scan your ID, and you practically walk through the dining hall and go to each station. And they give you like these to-go boxes and you just tell them what you want to put into it. And you're allowed, I think, maximum of 2 to-go boxes, I believe, right? So that's what usually happens. And you just make your way through the stations and then exit, grab your drinks, and then you're free to go to your room after that or eat outside. I recommend eating outside. It's kind of nice, but that's usually how it is. It's just very streamlined to go boxes.
I was going to say that for Unit 1 and 2, we share a dining hall called Crossroads, and that is sitting just in the block in between Unit 1 and 2. And so if you imagine them here, the dining hall is just right in the middle across the street from both of them. So super quick and easy. That was my go-to for food. If you're living in Blackwell or Unit 3, there's a Cafe 3 inside Unit 3, and Blackwell is just across the street. So that would be your go-to there. Foothill has their own dining hall. Clark Kerr has their own dining hall. We say that Clark Kerr brunches are the best. So I recommend going there. Even if you don't live in Clark Kerr, I definitely did that a couple of times. And to Pooja and Olivia, there are so many different options for whatever dietary preferences you do have. I had friends who were gluten-free, who were vegan. And when the dining halls are in person or during COVID, you just make sure to, ask for the food that, you want. They're really accommodating in terms of what you want on your plate. And then when we're in person, it's all like buffet style, so you can go up and grab whatever suits your needs best.
So in general, Clark Kerr's the farthest. Like that's just the truth. It's 15-minute walk to like the edge of campus. And the entire walk, like the shortest pathway is right through Frat Row. So it's not like the most unsafe because there's always like people and like college students kind of around you. But honestly, like there is so many resources that you can use to make sure that you're being safe, especially at night. I am kind of a night owl, so I like to study in our 24-hour libraries really late into the night, and then it's 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh gosh, I need to get home and I want to be safe. So I always take the night safety shuttle. It runs literally right through campus and runs all the way right to the horseshoe, which is like the entrance to our dorm, and it runs all the way into the night. And then at 3 a.m. it actually switches to like an Uber service, so you can call it to your location, and then you'll get on the bus. You'll be with the bus driver and just you on the bus probably, and they'll drive you right back to wherever you need to go. So it's a really good feature that we have. We also have Bear Walk. So if you're just not too far and you don't feel like taking a bus, or the bus doesn't drop you off exactly where you need to be, we have community service officers, which are fellow trained students who are trained by UCPD, who will walk you back to your dorm. You meet so many good friends that way. I like Bear Walk just because you can meet people, like because sometimes it's hard to meet people on campus. So it's a great way to meet people. So yeah, there's a really great like slew of night safety services. And also you will make friends, always travel in groups. For UC Berkeley is in an urban environment, just like most like major schools. So it's really important that you're, being safety minded, and there's the resources that university provides to help.
Awesome. And then Unit 1 and Unit 2 and Unit 3 and Blackwell are all located on South Side, as well as Clark Kerr's South Side. North Side options are Foothill and Stern. So that kind of gives you an idea of where things are located. Are there any like noticeable questions that have come up in the chat that y'all want to answer verbally that you would want to take on? I want to give you the space to do that. I guess meal options for vegetarians and vegans, and can you talk about like food, like gluten-free, that kind of thing that you've noticed? Did we kind of address that? Did we talk about that?
I think we have, but just to reiterate, Unit 3 is kind of like the space where you kind of want to be for like kosher vegetarians. They have a more of a selection for that kind of food group, but I think the biggest thing is that each dining hall is going to be very accommodating to whatever your health needs are. Like my friend is allergic to eggs, peanuts, and something. Something really crazy, or like a lot of things, and he has to show like or talk to the chef every time he goes to this dining hall. So if you guys have a very special um, d- diet, then they'll be accommodating towards it and they'll understand. So just don't be worried about if, oh, can I eat this food or not? But that's usually it. But everything else is kind of like, besides Unit Three's Cafe 3, is like more general food.
Awesome. Can we talk about the housing situation, what it would be like after freshman year, and what you recommend to people when they want to look for housing? And yeah, how that works.
Yeah, I can definitely start on that. Off-campus housing, like after your freshman year, there's a lot of different ways to go about it. A lot of the RAs and like people in like residential government will put on panels to connect you to resources and like help you with that. So always go to your RAs for a resource if you need, because we got the info. I would say the best way and the way that all my friends have found their housing is going on all the Facebook groups that we have. We have Berkeley Free and for Sale, Berkeley Off-Campus Housing. Like it's just a great way to like get all the housing options in one. You normally go like on a room tour, you get a lease, you find roommates, like the whole thing. There's a lot. I could not go through all the different off-campus housing options that there are that are outside of our system. For like on-campus housing after your freshman year, the university is taking a lot of major steps to help expand those options. And then like by the time you all are like sophomores, there will be like a new apartment complex opening up like every year. So if you're interested in that, I would say the best recommendation in order to secure that housing for yourself is to like find an apartment. I had like priority because I was involved in residential government, but like all of my friends who wanted like housing within like the apartments, I just recommended that they get like 2 or 3 roommates so that it's much easier for housing to place them all in just one room and it just be like done and over with. So yeah, I guess those are my recommendations for that.
Awesome. And I do want to mention we have Cindy and John and everyone just responding to questions in the chat as well. So please feel free to take a look at them and look at that. I do want to mention one more thing about that. A lot of people think, oh, I'm not going to get housing for sophomore year. I shouldn't even apply. You should absolutely apply because what happened my sophomore year is I applied and I got it, and there was actually excess housing. And one of my friends that was supposed to be in a triple in a single, and so that was like supposed to be like for sophomores. And so people like weren't applying, and so now all of my freshman residents, all of them to apply. Most of them got housing offers for their sophomore year. So it's very possible. They're trying to make Blackwell, I think, like sophomore housing. Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong about that. But so Blackwell could be your home your second year, which is pretty exciting because Blackwell is really nice and brand new. So we stand that. Let's see. There's so many questions, and I don't
People
even
are
know.
asking about how to become an RA.
Oh, we can talk about that. That's a very
That's a
complicated.
good one.
So you apply typically, it's like in November that the application will get released around that time. So you apply in the fall, you submit your application sometime in before finals week, before dead week, and then they'll let you know in January if you've been selected for an interview. And usually you interview in January or February, and then it's a pretty competitive process. I don't know the numbers, but I know that it's like a really competitive process to become an RA because it's free food and free housing. So like Jordan was saying, we can go get food anytime we want. We have to pay for it, which is really nice. To be an RA, obviously you have certain traits. You need to be able to talk to large groups of people. You need to comfortable meeting new people. You don't have to be the most extroverted person to be an RA. You definitely don't have to be. You can be kind of more introverted. I have some friends like that. It's just you need to be able to like lead a group, be able to put on exciting, fun events, and obviously just know the resources on campus and share them with your residents. Yeah, and then you have to take a class to become an RA. So you're in the spring once you get admitted, like after you do the interview, if you're accepted in that spring semester, you take a like a 10-week long course. You meet once a week for 2 hours. You have like little assignments here and there. It's mostly really chill, and honestly, you just like make friends with other future RAs, and it's a good time. Res Life is a great community of people. So if you want to like gain a leadership position that way. It's really great, and it's a great thing to put on your resume, in my opinion. So yeah, that is about being an RA. What other questions are you all seeing here that you
I could answer the study abroad one. Also, I think people are asking about the COVID, about having triples or doubles, but I think that one's not totally set yet in terms of the decision since COVID is kind of, yeah, this is like the things that they tell us too, because COVID kind of like is a mess. But in terms of the study abroad, usually you take a semester off, you tell your boss, and you resign for that semester. But then after that, if you want to get back on, you're put on to the wait list. But traditionally, people study abroad in the spring, and then so they could do training in the summer and become an RA in the fall. But if you study abroad during the fall, then you have to be put on the wait list for spring, and that's kind of like a whole mess. You kind of have to wait until a space opens up before you're guaranteed housing again, and then yeah. And then people are asking about if housing on campus is cheaper or which one's more beneficial. I think the thing is that you could always it's cheaper if you find the right amount of people to live with, or if you find a good apartment that's comparable. Because on average, if you're going to get a single, it's like 1,000 to like 1,500 depending. And then if you're rooming with a lot of people, it could go from like 600 to 1,000. So it just really depends. But I think the biggest thing with the I would just make sure whenever you're considering it. I kind of preferred living in the dorms because I kind of always like going to the dining halls, even though like the food was kind of questionable at times. But the thing is, don't ever underestimate the amount of time it takes to make food. I think that's what a lot of people don't consider whenever they're living in an off campus, that you're obviously going to spend time going to get groceries and preparing food, which takes a large amount of your time. But I think that's kind of like my tidbit on that.
Yeah, to just tag on to what John said, I saw a question earlier asking how often we make use of the communal kitchens. And those are very readily available, but I would say that I myself did not use them. And my friends typically did not, unless we were like baking cookies or something really small. And that's simply because if you're living in the dorms, you'd have to like buy your own pans and like ingredients and all kinds, yeah, like all of the different tools needed in the kitchen. And so it's actually super convenient to go and get food from the dining halls instead. Of course, if you enjoy cooking, like that option is totally available to you, but the dining halls make it really convenient to get food. Saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, the one thing that I want to add in really quickly, because everybody's asking which meal plan is like best or whatever. And it's such a hard question to answer because it really depends on how much food you go and like to eat. It depends on how much you want to go to like off-campus restaurants. Like for example, my freshman year, like I was like walking on campus like a lot and I wanted to go to the restaurants. My favorite restaurant is Berkeley Thai House. I had an on-campus job and I could go and get my like lunch at Berkeley Thai House every day if I wanted to. But it really depends on what your personal financial situation is, like what you like to eat, like how much you like the dining hall food. So it really, really depends. I would say if you want to just like go for like something you don't really know and you just don't really have an idea yet, just go for the middle option. I feel like the middle option is pretty like a standard, like it'll be enough to eat. You'll get your 3 meals a day. It'll be fine. But if you have like a specific concern, you want to like private message, like go for it. But like, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I recommend not getting the ultimate meal plan because I've had it all 4 years of my college career. You kind of realize that you don't really need that many swipes, and it's just too excessive. So I would recommend, yeah, like what Jordan said, go with a meal plan, or either if you eat out a lot, go with the lower plan than that.
I do want to mention that Berkeley has an amazing food scene. So we have so many restaurants. We are in a very like college environment. Like when you come to our campus, it feels like a college city. There's like streets full of amazing restaurants from like I had never tried Thai food until I came to Berkeley. And boy, have I had an experience. There's like so many different Thai restaurants, so many different like Mexican food restaurants. We have Artichokes, an amazing pizza place, like great for like a late night, and it's right next to Unit 1 and Unit 2. Like Durant, there's something called it's called the Durant Food Court, or Asian Ghetto as it's like more colloquially known. But there's so many restaurants in there that are amazing. So I would personally also recommend like the middle plan. I think it's 12 meal swipes per week, which is pretty good. And then you get 600 flex dollars. And flex dollars can be used at the Den, which is right next to Crossroads, which is kind of like you can go get coffee. There's a Pete's Coffee inside. There's also a pizza place in there, and they have like little snacks that you can buy. Or you can use those at GBC, Golden Bear Cafe, which are on campus. I think this year actually it's just meal swipes there. I don't know if they're going to continue that with how it's going to be for next year, but this year it's been like meal swipes at GBC. And then you also can use the flex dollars at Bear Market, which is in Unit 3. It's kind of like our grocery store for students. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. Cindy, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add quickly. I saw a question like, can freshmen get into any housing? And I want to clarify that there are 6 housing options for freshmen. I have a little cheat sheet right here, so I'll just list them off really quick. Units 1, 2, and 3 are available to freshmen, as well as Clark, Kerr, Foothill, Stern, and Blackwell. So those are what you guys should be, listing as your preferences on the housing app. And then Martinez, Wada, and Channing Bowditch. Those are both apartment style housing, as well as University Village. Those are available for continuing students, so sophomores and above, upper divisions, families, if you're, a grad student, or transfer students. So yeah, those are kind of the housing options to be aware of.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. And I do want to add one more thing to that. There's also Bowls, which is not a part of the housing application, but it's a separate place, kind of looks like Hogwarts. It's also on North Side. It's right next to the Memorial Stadium, and like it's between like Memorial Stadium and Foothill. So like right up there. It's a separate application. They have their own thing. I know that my friend Jack Larkins has been posting a lot about it in the class of 2025 Facebook page. So if you want to look into Bowls, that's also an option. And there's also iHouse, which you can do after your freshman year. I was supposed to be an RA at iHouse this year. It didn't happen. It's all good. But iHouse is amazing. They have an excellent, really cool environment because it's mostly international students, but you can also apply to live there if you are an in-state or American citizen. It's a great place to be. Great. Okay. There's so many questions in the chat, and I feel like I'm like overwhelmed. I guess, do we talk about like leadership opportunities in the dorm, specifically with RHA and how to get involved in Hall Association, which is really fun? So at Jordan.
Yeah, I can talk about Hall Association, RHA, and leadership opportunities. So let me explain what it is first. So the Residence Hall Assembly. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I messed up the acronym. Residence Hall Assembly is our main government for the residence halls. It has, like it says, an assembly of representatives from each residence hall meeting there in order to get give like opinions on like things that are going on and help like pass bills and funding and like help improve life like within the residence halls. And those representatives also sit on their individual hall associations. So a hall association is usually like 2 buildings or maybe the whole unit, depending on what the residence hall looks like, that are in your dorm. They meet weekly, 9 to 10 p.m. Sorry, our staff meetings are 7 to 9 p.m. My brain like glitched for a second. Yeah, they meet 9 to 10 p.m. and anyone can be involved. Even if you aren't like elected in the first election, you can go to the Hall Association meetings, give your opinion, like do everything that you need to do. So yeah, it's definitely like a really great experience. It got me and like kept me involved in like housing like all 4 years. So I never had to worry about off-campus housing, which is really lucky, and that doesn't happen for everyone, but it's a really, really good experience to like get your leadership in. I didn't do like student government in high school, so I was just really interested in getting involved in it. I would say that one other thing that I want to plug leadership wise is NRHH, which is our National Residence Hall Honorary. So after you get involved in Hall Association for maybe a semester, you can join the National Residence Hall Honorary. And they have like these weekly meetings. It's a good place for networking, honestly. A lot of big people in residential life come there. So if you want to be an RA, I highly recommend that you join NRHH. And also if you stay in it for all 4 years, you can get a cord for graduation, which is pretty fun, pretty exciting. But yeah, they do a lot of philanthropy opportunities and everything like that. Is there any questions in the chat that I should answer about that? Well,
I do want to address, somebody asked about co-ops and also options with that for housing. I know that's kind of like a little bit later. But before we exit the Hall Association one, I do want to mention that RHA is really fun because you get to go on really fun trips. Like there's Six Flags trips that sometimes happen. There's always like fun trips to SF with your Hall Association. It's kind of like student government just in the dorm.
Yes.
Super fun.
Yes.
And want somebody talk about co-op housing? Because there's so many different opportunities for housing like all over, and they're all the different types. We'll know about co-ops.
I can talk about it a little bit. I mean, the whole benefit of co-op housing is that you do like a certain amount of chores like around like the house, and then you like get your rent like reduced because you're like helping around the house and you live with a few like a lot more people, and there's like some co-ops that are like themed. I know Rochdale's a super popular one for like first generation students. So, and that's on South Side, right next to a couple of the on-campus apartments. So co-ops are a really good opportunity to get like just cheaper rent. Is if you need like a cheaper option, I would say co-ops are like definitely the way to go. And you just meet a lot of people, and it's like a very like communal like style way of living. If anyone else wants to add on.
There were some questions. Somebody was messaging me. We will provide whoever's comfortable our emails at the end. People keep emailing, messaging me, and asking me to provide my email. I'll happily provide it at the end. Just stay on, hang tight. Somebody also asked a question when we were talking about the bus that kind of moves through campus at night. Jordan was mentioning. Can you talk about the different ways that people get around Berkeley, ranging from the Clipper car to also those at night? So transportation in Berkeley.
I can go over that. So practically, you guys pay a student, I think, transit fee, right? And preferably you use either the AC transit bus, which has multiple routes. So download an app that shows you all of that. And then as what Jordan was saying, there's a night safety shuttle. So depending on where you're going to want to look at the routes, but usually the ones, if you're living on South Side, or you probably get primarily the 51B, which takes you all around like the south side of campus, downtown, and also to the BART. So that's kind of useful. Your Clipper card also can be used for the BART station. So I know a lot of people, some people, yeah, right there, she is showing it. Good job, Gabby. Yeah, nice modeling. But yeah, so you can load money onto that and use it for the BART. And usually people take the downtown BART station, which is just a 51B ride if you're in Unit 1 or Unit 2, or even Unit 3. And you just load money onto it either online, or either you could go to the station and you just scan your card. I don't know if anybody has used BART here, but that's practically your options in terms of the things that they give you, right? Anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, so part of your tuition is the Clipper card. I believe it's like $50, and this will really get you anywhere. So I could take this just with my Clipper card. I take the 52 or the F, and I just go on the bus, swipe it, and then I can go to San Francisco in less than an hour. Same thing. I always go to Emeryville. It's a blaster. There's like a whole like outdoor market area thing there, and it's only like a 25-minute bus ride. Just take this for free, basically, because it's a part of your tuition. You just never really notice it, but it's like $50. So you can use this. They give it to you your freshman year. Don't lose it. It's great, Clipper card. If you do, you can get a new one. Don't worry. And then for the Cal ID, I don't want to show my number, but that's the Cal One card. You use that for the night safety shuttle. And so that's really useful. Okay. What other questions? Can we talk about you get hungry in the middle of the night? Cindy answered it. I feel like you did. Did you answer the question about like if you get hungry, what options are there?
Yeah, I listed out, I mentioned Crossroads. They have something called late night open during an in-person semester, and that they offer chicken tenders, waffles, pancakes, the best breakfast burritos. Who knew that you could crave a breakfast burrito at 12 a.m.? But it's possible. So that's a great option if you want to use a meal swipe or points. To get some late night cravings filled. Other than that, there is amazing food in the streets surrounding your dorms. Durant Avenue is really popular. That's where Asian Ghetto is, that Gabby mentioned earlier, as well as Taco Bell, this really awesome pizza place called Artichokes, a bunch of boba places, and those are typically open until like 12, 1, up to 3 a.m. And so if you ever get hungry late at night, you can always hit up any of those places as well. I've done that so many times.
I hope they bring back late night Honestly, like I'm praying for late night to come back. I miss my late night chocolate chip pancakes. The dining halls opening late at like up until like 2 a.m. I think it was honestly the best thing ever, and I really hope that they have that for y'all next year, COVID notwithstanding.
Somebody asked a question. Exactly, I agree. But somebody asked a question about gyms and libraries, and I know that you mentioned music rooms inside of the residence halls. Can you also talk about the other resources inside of the residence halls, like gyms? And I mean, I mentioned
I can go first. The range of gyms varies between like the units. Blackwell, I would say, has the nicest gym facility out of all of the residence halls. Clark Kerr actually just got redone because of a grant that I may have had a little bit of a part in. But it just got redone, which is really nice because Clark Kerr is about like a 10-minute walk from the gym at Memorial Stadium. Blackwell has like the nicest gym, and it's like a literal 1-minute walk to our RSF, which is our nicest gym. So doesn't, I guess, really matter about distance. But yeah, the units also have gyms, but it's more of like just like a treadmill elliptical situation, but they're really not that far of a walk from like the RSF. So that's like the main place that I would go to. I also really recommend doing like the classes that they have there. I really missed that sunrise yoga class. That was so much fun, like to go to with like your friends, like at like 6:50 a.m. And then so like the two main gyms, RSF, Memorial Stadium, Memorial is closest to like Clark Kerr campus in Foothill, and then RSF is closer to the units in Blackwell. And then there is like in room dorm like the gyms that are in like the buildings, but they aren't as robust as the other two. But yeah, anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, I just want to give a plug to the fact that as a Berkeley student at the RSF, there's classes every single day at like all hours of the day from like 6 in the morning until like probably like 8 at night. Zumba classes, weight training classes, self-defense classes, like yoga classes. So if you're not even like a full-on, you know, I'm not like a professional athlete. So they're just great classes to go to. You can go with your friends, and it's a great way to like kind of de-stress from classes during the day. Because you go to your academic courses and you're like, oh, I like want to go for a walk, or I want to go for a run, or like I just want to feel, you know, endorphins. You can go to the RSF, and there's always great classes there. So I really hope they're going to start opening that April 19th, which is literally on Monday, which I'm so excited about. So yes, let's see. We've been getting some more questions. Anything that y'all are seeing stand out to you?
I would think people were asking about a bicycle. It is possible to get a bicycle, but I would just be wary. Berkeley drivers sometimes, yeah, it's easy to get around with a bike, but I usually use a scooter. So I'm like with the scooter game. Usually easier to like maneuver and operate since you don't have to like chain it outside. But yeah, I think it just really depends. But the bike you have to register through UCPD and lock it outside, and so that's kind of more of a hassle. So I usually use a scooter. It's kind of more fun, you know. But and everyone looks at you, so that's cute.
There's also there's also those like skateboards that are like mechanized.
Oh yeah.
People use those if you like don't like walking up the hills, because we do have a hilly campus. You can also use those to get around campus, but most of the time walking is perfectly fine. And we do have like Berkeley time in between courses. So if you're like, one of my classes is on north side and the other one is on south side, will I make it? Yes, because you have a 10-minute. So yeah, you'll be fine, and you won't need to like have a bike to get there. Like you should mostly be okay with the distance.
Yeah. Then sorry. People were asking about a car. Sorry, Cindy, my bad. So I have a car this year since it's my last year, but I have a car in my first 3 years of college. I don't think a car is really necessary unless you're willing to use it as much as you want. But it's very selective in terms of your permitting of what if you're trying to look for on-campus housing, or on-campus parking, it's kind of a lottery system. It's super expensive too as well. So if you are planning to bring up a car, you don't really need it your freshman year. But if you do want to bring it, I would recommend looking at different rental places where you could park it. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say that my roommate currently has a car, and we live in an off-campus apartment that we got ourselves. External from the UC Berkeley offerings, but we have a parking garage, and so it's common or more common after your freshman year to have a couple friends who have cars, and so my roommate and I, we share that car and we do Costco runs together. But other than that, I mean, I think everything you need or anything you want to do in terms of socializing, it's all from like within walking distance in Berkeley, I would say, at least for freshman year. And I was also going to mention for anyone who kind of needs help getting around campus, we have an awesome disabled students program, and they offer, golf carts to drive you around to classes if needed, and also just really awesome accommodations for any wheelchair disabilities and the like. I actually sprained my ankle last in the beginning of 2020, and I was crutching around campus and like sweating every single day. And then I heard about the golf cart option that was available even for temporary disabilities like me. And so I got to utilize that system. They're so nice. You just use like an app that they created. Ping one of the golf cart drivers, let them know where you are and where you're headed, and then they'll just take you to and from real easily. So that option is available too, if you have any transportation needs.
Awesome. We're getting a lot of great questions in the chat. I kind of like this one. Do people have the chance to get into nature for a hike or something? Can we talk about that scene at Berkeley?
Absolutely. I would say one big up of Clark Kerr campus is it's right next to the entrance to the fire trails, which is like the best hiking, I would say, anywhere. I love going on like the fire trails. You can see just a beautiful view of the bay. It's just such a nice hike. And also just like Berkeley is in East Bay, which is just so near so many like beautiful natural like vistas and places. My freshman year, like the first place I wanted to go was Muir Woods, and we took a gig car. So shout out to the gig cars to Muir Woods and like spent the day there. There's so many opportunities for like hiking and all that fun stuff. If you're super into like hiking and outdoor stuff, like more than the average bear, I would definitely say that Chaos is for you, which is our like outdoor society, and they have like so many fun stuff. I don't know if they're at the panel later because we have a lot of people at the, okay, they're not. But look up Chaos Berkeley. They have a lot of really cool like outdoorsy fun stuff that they do.
We literally have so many clubs for outdoorsy stuff. There's a surfing club, there's like a boating club, but also, just like Jordan was mentioning, I live in Unit 2. It's a 10-minute like walk to the fire trails, and it's I'm from Los Angeles, and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen the beach. I've seen like mountains. I've like traveled the world. That is the most incredible view you will ever get. It's an insane view of the entire bay. Also, we have something called the Big C, which is like the classic Berkeley hike that students do. I hadn't done it until senior year, but it's a great hike. Usually you do it during GBO your freshman year, and it's literally a huge letter C that is on the mountain, and it's kind of like a distinction for Cal to be like, yep, that's our university, that's where we are. And you can access it right behind Foothill, but you can go around. It's a really easy hike. I shouldn't say that. It's not an easy hike. It's not an easy hike, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun, especially if you go with friends. You get a gorgeous view of the entire bay. Anything else y'all want to add before I move on to another question? We're getting a lot of great questions in the chat. Let's see. We will have some questions that are being asked about clubs. So like the Mental Health Commission, for example, that I mentioned, we'll have a student expo, and that's going to be at 2:00. And so a bunch of clubs are coming to talk to y'all. We have people from the ASUC, which is our student government. We have people from the Engineering Student Council, people from like the acapella groups. So you're going to get the chance to talk to a lot of students. And let me see if any of the parents have questions. We have a lot of great questions from your parents, y'all, coming in on YouTube.
Oh, there's like a chat on YouTube. That's
Yeah. We already kind of answered a lot of them. I guess maybe what are some must bring things that you should bring to the dorms, and maybe some things that you don't think are necessary that you can kind of give advice to for the students. Like must have, you couldn't deal without.
I would say like my number one like thing would have honestly headphones and my shower caddy. Like those are like the two main things. I honestly, this is like a topic for debate, but I'm a huge fan of the caddy rather than the shower bag. but that's just me. I don't know. I don't know if other people have thoughts on must-haves for the dorms.
Shower shoes. Must have. Sorry. Um, I would just say bring snacks. You never know where you're gonna get hungry. Um, yeah, I don't. I think it's just like. I would just say a lamp as well. It's pretty standard stuff. I kind of use. Never mind.
I highly recommend fairy lights for anyone interested in making their space a little bit more homey. I also printed some like pictures at the nearby Walgreens. They do same day prints. Yeah, printed out some photos from home and then like stuck them along my fairy lights, and that made the place feel more at home. I also have friends who bought like tapestries and they like hung them up on the walls as well, and that was just a really nice way to personalize the walls that are basically just big bulletin boards and ready for you to fill them up. Yeah, exactly, like Gabby's.
I have it here, but then I was like, wait, no, there's a background. But yes, those are all great advice. Also, like a water, like a kettle, to warm water. I love having tea every night before I go to sleep. It's like a tradition that I had in my family growing up. Turkish family traditions, you always have tea. I also want to mention that some parents are asking about which dorm is closest to my college. So especially for freshman year, your classes are kind of going to be all over. If you're CS, if you're engineering, if you're poli-sci, even though I was in Stern, which is like mostly where engineering students are, I still had classes. I had a class in Corey, which is the EECS building, which is right next to Stern. And I had a lot of classes in Dwinell. So you're kind of gonna like, you're going to be all over. So I wouldn't worry too much about like being too far from your college. It's kind of your classes are all over your freshman year. But like after that, it's definitely nicer to be closer to, if you're like a junior and you're doing research constantly in Corey or in like Stanley, then it'd be nicer to like be on North Side because that's where those buildings are. So yeah, that's advice there. We are going to talk about, oh, sorry.
No, I just wanted to add on to that. There was a couple of people asking if there was like distinct personalities for each of like the dorms. And I honestly think kind of a little bit, I would say. I would say like people like really bond in unit 3. Like from my experience, if you're in unit 3, like you are like spiritually bonded to the place and the people that exist there. And then I would say that like I would say that Clark Kerr just tends to be just like more like full of people from like Southern California, more people interested in Greek life. If you're kind of getting my vibe, that's just kind of the people that end up there. I would say the rest of them, I don't know. Okay, Gabby. I would say those are the main two. Is there any other ones that I'm missing? I don't really think there's any other vibe.
I mean, everyone just says Foothill's like designated towards engineering and like STEM. So sometimes if you want to find STEM friends, it might be a good place. But I know a lot of people are like asking me about engineering, where to stay. Since you guys are doing a lot of GEs, like what Gabby said, I wouldn't. It doesn't really matter where you go because since you're going to be in like those large lecture halls all over campus.
And then lastly, I would just mention bowls. I think there was a question earlier to expound on what bowls is. Yeah, again, it's not part of the regular housing application, but if you do want to be a part of a more tight-knit community, you go through just a little application separately that I think you write like an essay about why you want to join bowls and what you would add to the community. And within that space, they're like very active. They put on like a haunted house Halloween every year. They do a lot of activities together. And I would also say that they have a lot of pride in living in bowls because, you know, there's like an application, you go in and you do like everything together, or not everything, but I would say that that's a main source of community for a lot of people who live there. Yeah. Hogwarts vibes for sure.
We are nearing the end of this, but we do have questions. I guess I know that we're going to kind of address this in like the academic Q&A. So I just want to save those questions about like how big are your GE classes and stuff like that. Like those are going to be more specific, like major questions. So save that for the academic Q&A, and questions about safety will also be answered in the next session. Do you recommend certain housing for out-of-state students? No, I wouldn't say so. You're going to be surrounded by people from all over the world. And I think like all of our panelists for mentioning. It's the most exciting opportunity to be able to walk down your hall and like 5 countries are represented and like 30 states are represented. Or maybe not 30 states, like at least like 5 states are represented. So it's really exciting to do that. What other questions? Changemakers program. That's a new program that they're offering. This, do y'all know about that? I know some.
Yeah, I've just heard that Mills College is a little bit away from the rest of UC Berkeley campus, but if you decide to go with that option, you get a very intimate community liberal arts feel to your freshman year. And so that would be, I think, your go-to if you are maybe coming from a smaller school or intimidated by the large feel of Berkeley. Yeah, similar to like the fall program for freshmen, it gives you like a smaller community to be a part of first.
Awesome. And it is 12:30, so I want to respect our panelists' time, but thank you all so, so much for a really informative session. I hope that you all enjoyed this, and we are going to be breaking for a 30-minute lunch session for everybody to get some energy, and we will see you back at 1 p.m. For our academic health and safety resources panel. Thank you all so, so much. Thank you to the parents live streaming. I'll see you later.
Bye, guys.
Oh wait, one more thing. For people who are here, drop your emails in the chat. We'll also send the emails out in the Eventbrite. Really quick. Drop your emails. We'll also send them out later. If you feel comfortable, you don't have to, by the way.
I spelled Berkeley wrong. No, I forgot an E.
That happened.
There are too many E's in Berkeley.
My E key on my keyboard doesn't work or something. I swear. I know how to spell Berkeley.